Speaking of Dave Rubin, one of the benefits that you get by being part of the Glenn Beck network is that you become someone, you fill the slot of like, we're going to sell the potential crossover Republicans. And who's going to interview the non-white woman? Well, let's give it to Dave, because his audience is already pretty loosey-goosey with what they'll accept on the Glenn Beck network. I don't know if that's the way that they do that over there. I mean, I'm just looking back to Dave's time when he was sponsored by the Liberty Universe. What was it? What was it? It was some Koch brother, intermediary that was feeding him guests from some a libertarian college, essentially.
Hillsdale, was that it?
No, it wasn't Hillsdale. I can't remember exactly what it was. People could look it up, but it's all there. But here is Dave Rubin. And what number is this here?
Oh, this is a late edition, so not on the sheet. But this is Nikki Haley feeding Dave Rubin sort of like what the conservative war hawk establishment view of the Ukraine-Russia situation is.
Is this one of the things that we discussed in our original interview, say 6 or 8 months ago, where if the United States does not lead, does not say, hey, we have red lines that you can't cross, say there are things that you cannot do. If we don't do it, that the world just kind of goes to hell in the handbasket. It doesn't mean we do everything right all the time, but pretty much without us, NATO doesn't function. Other countries don't sort of stand up for what's right.
Pause it for 1 second. Listen, I just want to be clear here, because there's going to be young people who watch this, who are going to be thinking that they're watching something of substance. And understand, when you say the world going to hell in a handbasket, it is really, really important to be specific on what you're talking about, because I don't know what that means. Because in my mind, hell in a handbasket is World War III. In my mind, hell in a handbasket is
a nuclear exchange.
And right now, the United States is clearly leading. And if you want not hell in a handbasket, in other words, as less human suffering and destruction as possible, you need to be very explicit as to what your agenda is. He says hell in a handbasket. It literally could mean anything. In fact, I would argue that he's more interested in what would lead to World War III than would not. And so this implication that the U.S. is not leading is absurd. You could argue like, no, we should get into a nuclear confrontation with Russia. Now, I would think you would be a sociopath to make that argument, but it's not like they don't exist. Continue.
Pretty much without us, NATO doesn't function. Other countries don't sort of stand up for what's right.
Yeah, I think it was very clear to me at the United Nations that whether countries like the U.S. or not, they want us to lead. They would much rather follow the United States than follow China or Russia any day of the week. And, what I saw is when we speak, the world listens. When we act, the world follows. Who we are, the world wants to be. And so it doesn't mean we have to go to war, but it means that we need to speak and speak loudly. And we need to make sure we do it in the name of freedom and we do it in the name of peace. And what we need to be saying loudly now is, Europeans thought that if they were nice to Russia, that Russia would leave them alone. And what you find out is when you sleep with the devil owns you. Europeans became 40% dependent on Russian oil. Russia is a one industry country. Their whole livelihood is surrounded by energy and the energy industry. And so what Europe has to do now is they have to become independent of Russian oil. Poland and Lithuania have already done that. They're getting theirs from Australia. The United States should not be taking Russian oil. We could open up the Keystone Pipeline and that would take up the oil that we're getting from them. God. But also we need to double down on fracking. We need to export liquefied natural gas. We need to really start to understand this is a national security issue. Because while a lot of people think this is just Ukraine, 1 million people have migrated out of Ukraine into all of those European countries, especially Poland right now. The entire European region is going to be disrupted, and we're all going to feel that. And so this is about being smart and realizing where we are and the fact that we need to be doing something. If you see the death that's happening in this,
maybe just address the fracking point.
Wait. Let's get. I want to do that second, actually. Wait, just let it go just a little bit more. No, I've been waiting. I'm biting my tongue here.
this is about being smart and realizing where we are and the fact that we need to be doing something. If you see the death that's happening in the streets of Ukraine, don't think that's over there. That very well could be us. That's not saying, anytime there is a free democracy, there's a tyrant ready to take it. We've seen that with Israel for a long time. You're now seeing that with Ukraine. You're going to see it with Taiwan. The United States has to figure out what they want to be when they lead. And I think we are always right when we lead on the side of freedom.
So you briefly mentioned sanctions.
Pause. Okay, this is just insanity. I mean, I don't even know what the hell this means. Some of it, but we're going to get to we need to double down on fracking. We'll get to that in a second. But let me tell you what was not mentioned there in terms of leading. In the talk of the million refugees, really, I think it's closer to 2 million now, external refugees and millions internal refugees. The word that did not come out of her mouth was help. Help those refugees. We could be pouring money in. Jack Crosby's piece in the Discourse on Friday was very explicit on what we could be doing. We could be pouring in funds. We could be pouring in aid. We could be taking a lot of Ukrainian refugees. We could be helping situate them in these countries. There's so much we could be doing. And we, in this instance, is the U.S. government. Then she says, we need to double down on fracking and we need to open up the Keystone XL pipeline. Let's be clear. The Keystone XL pipeline is a pipeline. The pipeline does not extract the oil, and it's really, really heavy. The oil needing of most refining. In fact, it needs to be heated through the whole pipe system to get down there.
They go to places like North Dakota and Canada.
But if we wanted to, if this was about energy independence, that pipe would not go all the way down to our southern coast. It goes down to our southern coast because that's where it's going to be shipped out. That's not energy independence. That's we're a hyperloop for the energy. But talk about the fracking part, and then I'll talk about the we part.
Well, you see, even conservatives are understanding now that like the fracking stuff is because particularly like Wall Street doesn't want to invest in that anymore, which is okay. If we're just taking like, oh, we need the government to basically start fracking. Let's just have the military open up a fracking core and start like drilling new wells. Like why at this point we should be doing what we should have been doing for the last like 20, 30 years, which is moving off of fossil fuels.
We should be doing that, but I want to get back to that we part. Because the reason why there is no fracking going on, the reason why there is no more drilling on all these permits that they're sitting on is because they don't want to expend the capital for fear that in 6 months, the price of oil is going to drop in such a way that they're going to lose their shirts. If we think it is a national security issue, then because the we doesn't include me, it doesn't even include her, although she probably sits on the board of some oil company with my guess. But the we does not include the we. It is the financiers for these companies. If we really want to make it we can. We should nationalize all of it.
Yep.
We nationalize the rigs. We nationalize the refineries. We nationalize the pipes, the trains. We nationalize all of our energy production. And then we can genuinely be energy independent because we would decide through our government not to put it on the international market. We would use only what we need to consume. We don't have to sell it for profit. we will supply this, and then we will ratchet down our use of this and supplant it with sustainable energy. And if that is what we are suggesting, I want to say that I think we should all be on board. We. Unbelievable.
And she's pretty cavalier later in that interview about the prospects of World War III, and just says we just can't be afraid of we
can't
stuff like that.
We can't be afraid of World War III. Why would we? Unbelievable.